Welcome to the Recruiting Revolution, your digital bullpen, with your hosts, Paul Lopresto and Myrna Romero. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out your journey, this podcast is for you. In the relentless pursuit of excellence, there's no such thing as a perfect recruiter. Mastery in this craft isn't a straight path. It's more of a battlefield, especially when the rules keep changing and the chaos never stops. As the world of work evolves, with remote becoming the new normal and the bullpen fading into memory, the need for real connection and raw, unfiltered learning has never been more urgent. Technology may be transforming our industry, but it's the human touch that truly makes the difference. They say a rising tide lifts all ships, but sometimes that tide feels more like a tidal wave. So let's ride it together. Let's cut through the noise, share our war stories, and unmask the unsung heroes who rise above the insanity. This isn't just a podcast, it's a survival guide. Welcome to the revolution. Hi, Myrna.
Hey, Paul.
Oh my God.
We're doing this.
We're doing a freaking podcast.
It's taking us a bit.
Let's see here. We talked about this 3 months ago, I think.
Yep.
I was sitting outside on my lawn chair, soaking up the sun, and I said, we should really do something like a podcast. And I guess you were thinking the same thing?
No, I had it. I had a dream that same week. And right. I don't remember much about my dreams, but that one I was like, Paul and I have to do a podcast. So and it all happened in the same week. So
and so we spent 3 months planning.
We're thinking the same thing.
We're planners. We plan and we are so planned for this.
We're finally here.
Oh my God. Well, I'm happy we're here and this is going to be fun. So I guess let's just talk about our intro because maybe somebody listened to it. Maybe somebody didn't. I composed the music and obviously it was my voice, but I guess why are we doing this? What's the point, Myrna?
Well, I mean, one of the biggest things you and I talked about was things are just so different. The landscape of recruiting has just changed so much, whether it's you're remote, hybrid, in the office, you are a year in, 20 years in, there's just so many things that are changing. And, we wanted to kind of keep networking with the people that we know and love and have worked with before in the past, but really just to kind of share what we're seeing, what other people are seeing in different, industries within staffing, and kind of share with others what's working and maybe what's not working for people.
I mean, let's talk about remote, right? Like we have all gone remote, and you and I'm learned remote. I mean, all the phrases and things that we learned in a bullpen, right? And I learned from so many amazing people that you're sitting there and you're struggling trying to get a candidate to, do what we want them to do or understand why we want them to do this. A client's just not responding. We lost control of a job order, lost control of a candidate. And then all of a sudden you hear, I don't know, maybe it's a Shad Griffin or a, Kathy Gans or a Jessica Carell or a Linnell Flint, right? And they have this thing they say on the phone and you're like, oh my God. And it just changes your life, right? And and now we're in a remote world where people are training, right? And some companies are better than others, but I really feel like we have an opportunity to bring something together and give a better opportunity to share these best practices. And we might have somebody that just started, in a remote world, because so many companies are hiring remote only, and they might need some support, right? And maybe they're not getting the best training from their internal company, and maybe they need a lifeline. And that's why we said, hopefully this is a lifeline to those in recruitment, and and we said a beacon, whatever. It's some BS that we've come up with, right? But I really think that it's a great opportunity for us to just kind of share what we're doing here. So And again, like we said, a rising tide lifts all ships. And I think it's true. Like, we can all rise together in this. So it's cheesy, but I mean, anybody that knows me is I'm a cheese ball.
And you know a ton of stuff. And that's what we're hoping to share. I mean,
Yeah.
collectively, you and I have over 40 years of experience in the recruiting world.
Yeah.
And when I look back at how I started in the business, I had no idea staffing was a thing. I did not know there was companies that help people get jobs.
Right.
I was working at Wilson's Leather at a retail shop here in Phoenix at Metro Center Mall, which is going to like disappear in the next couple of years. And one of my coworkers, her mom was a branch manager at Agilon, and I was kind of ready to get out of retail, and
it wasn't Agilon back then. It was Millennium Staffing, right?
It had just turned to Millennium.
Right.
Yes, you're right.
That's
it was like kind of in that transition. So we were still saying Millennium Staffing, Agilon. It was like this big old long intro to answering the phone calls there. But met with the branch manager, Robin Bumgardner, here in Phoenix, and I interviewed with Eric Ryan and started as a staffing coordinator, and you trained me.
I do say that I taught Myrna everything she knows, because
I know.
Basically I wanted a promotion into staffing, and this was 2000, 2001,
this would have been in 2003. That's when I started, 2003.
I was an admin for a year and a half, and then I wanted to be promoted, and they said, well, I have to find my replacement. And we got Myrna, and so I trained her and taught her everything she knows. So anything that she gives you, you're welcome.
Absolutely. I mean, I think of like, I don't know if you remember this, but I'd never worked in an office job. I'd only done retail, which always face to face and never really on the phone. And the first phone call you had me pick up, they hung up on me.
Oh my God. And then I'm not calling him again. I'm like, call him again.
No, they were calling us, and I just was all ready for my little script that we wrote out. And it was, that's how it all began. And I just had no idea what recruiting was. And
I mean, it's true. Like it's crazy, because I was a young 20-something kid trying to find my way in life, and I had gotten a temp job before, and I went in to get another temp job, and that's when I met the wonderful Linnell Flint, who had me go out and interview with this company. I remember it was on like 44th Street in Camelback, and I was so in. She loved me, they loved me, and then I had to take this stupid test where you have to like match numbers to numbers and figure out which ones are the same and which ones are different. And there was like 300 lines of it. And I remember that I think you had to get like a 90%, and I think I got like an 89. And they're like, we can't hire you. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, are you serious? Like, some companies are so strict on that. And so I remember Linnell and I were just so, we were just like, well, what are we going to do? And at that point in time, they needed a part-time receptionist in Mesa and as well as Phoenix. So I was working both offices, and I came into recruiting, and I found my little love for it. And it's, I guess, I don't know, like we talk about, recruiting and how we came into the industry, but why did you stay so long, Myrna?
I stayed because of the people. At that time that I started and I was actually recruiting, there was just some of the best people that I had probably ever been surrounded as, like, because when I started, I literally turned 21 a few months later after I started at Agilon, and I was just surrounded by adults for the most part.
We're gonna say adults.
And there's some questionables out there, but I mean, I was sitting in the back, and we were just so full I don't know if you remember that time, but the office was getting so big, and there were so many people there. Linda Evans, Eric Ryan,
Don,
Jessica Corral, Don, Lenhart or Gunsberg, I guess, Rhonda Williams, and just you build these bonds with these people because you're in the trenches, you're daily getting hung up on no, and you're just waiting for that one yes that day. And you just build this community of these people. And, I still see and talk to many of the people I just mentioned. So
Yeah.
it really kept me there, but also, the work itself was rewarding.
And we made
At
some
that
good
time,
damn money at it. We made
well, and
good
yeah, I was
money.
for sure. Like I was so immature at that time. And, it's like you kind of get put into these teams that are high performing, and, you start battling out not only with your competitors, but to beat out sometimes your internal teams. And, looking back, it's like, well, probably could have done even better than we did had we just worked a little better together. But in some cases, that's
Wait, are
sometimes
you
like,
saying that we used to hide job orders from like
oh
other
yeah,
branches, Myrna? I never did it. I never did it.
Paul, don't even make me say the name of the company.
There was times where we had territories, obviously,
Yeah, oh
and
yeah.
I may have put a temp that was kind of on the line at another address, and
Not
then
really, but
somebody found out, and I got a mean call.
you remember that. It
Yeah.
was just, but you grow up, you become an adult, you learn
Yes.
better. And
Yeah.
so you lose some of those habits. And
Mhm.
as I grew in my career and I led teams, and I, moved from recruiting to sales, led teams, and then, you know, did training and development,
Mhm.
you do see that, and you try to kind of correct people
Mhm.
in their thinking, because long
It,
term that won't work,
Right, 1000%. And it is
Yeah,
reciprocity, and
yeah.
I agree with you. And I don't know if people know this. I mean, obviously we know this, but Myrna and I have worked together at every job. So we worked at Agilon together for about 14, 15 years together.
Yep.
And then I went over to Robert Half, and she went to Robert Half in Phoenix. And then I moved to Phoenix to work with Myrna, who quit right after I got there.
Yep.
And then I was recruited over to Vincent Benjamin for Ben, and built a training development department, recruited Myrna in there. And then I left VB, and that was the first time in my last job at Lead that I didn't get to work with you.
I
And so
know.
I think that's
It's
also why we're
weird.
doing this podcast, because we miss working
Yes.
together. It's
We really do. We really do. I feel super fortunate to have someone like you in,
Same.
in my professional network, but also like my personal network. So
Great.
Honestly, this was really just for us to hang out together more.
Totally. But we're going to give nuggets. There'll be good nuggets.
Oh yeah, so many.
And
so
I mean,
many.
it is, God, I would say I stayed in staffing and recruiting. And I think my favorite thing, and why I love training and why I love bringing people into it, like literally I don't know how many people that they're like, I would never do that. And I'm like, shh, just give me a minute, right? I'm like a scuba diver. We're always trying to convince other people to get certified, right? Which I do. But it's the same thing with recruiting. And I have loved seeing people that didn't know what they wanted to do with their life. They go to college, they get their degree. Maybe they didn't go to college because they didn't know what they wanted to do. They like people. They enjoy competitive nature of life. Maybe they played sports, or they were in the service industry. And then all of a sudden you take that personality and you show them with a little bit of dedication, consistency, and being able to fail 99% of your day. But those 1% successes, and you can flip that script a little bit to where everything's a success, but showing somebody how they can make a career out of this in people. And to be honest, it's long term. I mean, there's AI, there's all this stuff happening, and I know you and I have talked about AI and how it's going to replace recruiting, and it won't. I mean, I'm passionate because the one thing people know is people like connection, and good recruiters connect, they understand, they get to know, and they place. And then that person they place again, and then maybe they place them again. And it's just that long-term effort. And then, oh yeah, we make a lot of money.
You make a ton of money.
It's a great byproduct of helping people, right? And making money. It's good. Yeah.
I mean, I just know so many people, just like what you talked about, where they were able to like financially change their whole lives. I mean, that was me. And it was just so great to do it with the people I was doing it with.
Yeah.
It was a ton of fun.
It is. It is. And so I am super excited. And I hope over our podcast, you guys will get to know us better, because we will have some people on here
Yes.
that have mentored us, other people that have been our competitors. I'll have
Yep.
somebody on who fired me and rehired me. The lovely Linnell.
We're going to see all sorts of people on here. That's the goal.
Yes. But at the end of the day, we use the word unsung heroes, because I think in recruiting and staffing, like, we typically are the people that in companies, companies don't love to use us, but they have to. Some companies know why they should use us, right? But we're the people that literally are matchmakers, right? It's like we always said, we are the matchmakers that find people jobs. And that's stressful. That's freaking stressful, changing jobs, right? And we have to literally be psychologists and counselors and therapists to our candidates and our clients. And we, outside of making the money, sometimes you don't feel, a lot of times you always appreciate it. And so it's those unsung heroes that are keeping things moving. So I am super excited to bring a lot of those heroes on our show.
Yes.
So I guess I would like you to tell me a fun story about you in staffing and recruiting, if you have one. Is there anything that comes to mind?
Oh my God. Yes, so many, but I'm going to kind of start off, because when I first started recruiting, I think you and I talked about this a little bit, Paul. I was 20. I've been working in retail for quite some time. I'd actually worked my way up in retail, and kind of thought I'd do that for a while, but landed here and loved it. And but my first interview, and this is where recruiters come into place. I didn't have someone necessarily to walk me through the whole process, but I show up to my interview with Eric Ryan, who at that time was an executive recruiter for finance and accounting. And in my mind at that time, I looked phenomenal. Like my appearance, what I was wearing.
You still look phenomenal, Myrna. Come on.
Yes. But again, it's like that mentality of like a 20-year-old, right?
Yes.
And walking in with this outfit, and now looking back, it's just so cringy to me, because it was not appropriate, but they obviously were understanding and could see past what I wore to my interview, and they could see my potential. So I landed the job. But that is probably one of my when I think back of recruiting, I'm like, I cannot believe I wore that outfit.
Oh my gosh.
Cannot believe it. So I mean, and just so many stories like that that I've learned, and that's why I care so much about prepping people for interviews. That's a lot of times where I spend a lot of time, because I probably needed that, and I hope I would have listened if somebody would have coached me on that. But I landed the interview, I landed the job, so I guess it worked out. It was meant to be.
I love it.
I know you have a ton of
my
stories.
God. I'm sitting here going through it, and there's a bunch of them I want to tell, but some of them I want to kind of save when they're on with us, right? But I think one of my funniest ones is when I went into recruiting, I was like, "Yay, I'm going to be a recruiter." Robin Bumgarner said, "Great, you're going to be a recruiter. Ryan Kurtz is going to be your branch manager." And so we opened up the Agilon division in Mesa, which became the fastest growing division of all Agilons, with the Lucas Mitchell and all the wonderful people that we had part of our team. But I remember that I'm interviewing candidates, because we had no job orders, but I'm like, well, I need to interview candidates. And Robin comes in and goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm a recruiter. I interview candidates." She goes, "You don't have any job orders. Get on the phone and call some companies." I said, "What?"
That sounds about right.
And I'm like, "Okay, who do I call?" She's like, "I don't know, find numbers." And I'm like, "Okay," literally Yellow Pages. I had a Yellow Pages, and this is how I called companies. "Hi, this is Paul with Agilon. Do you need a temp?" That's how I started. And lo and behold, I actually brought in a job order, and we ended up bringing on the company. Robin at that time had told us that we couldn't go below a 50% markup. That's when we worked on markups.
Oh yeah,
and
I remember
the client was at like 40%. That's all they would do. But Ryan and I were like, we don't have any job orders. So we actually
Let's take it.
So we brought them on and we placed people out there, and it was a questionable client. I'm not going to lie. There was some, you know, I'm not even going to go into it.
There's a few clients
I just
like
remember Robin coming in, and I think she was so excited, and we didn't tell her until 6 months after that we actually brought in our first clients below margin. But at that point, we were making money, so money's money, right? And it turned out to work well in our favor.
I think that's where we learned the what was that saying? Like, just do it and apologize for it later.
ask forgiveness later. Yeah. Ask for forgiveness. Ask for forgiveness.
Yeah, yes, ask for forgiveness later. I learned that for sure real quick.
Oh my God. Well, I'm excited. I mean, and you know, I have down here that we were going to talk about who inspired us. And there's so many people. I mean, everybody we've named so far is an inspiration. You know, Jessica was my mentor in a lot of ways, and so was Linnell. Robin has created so many leaders. Kathy Gans. I mean, I could go on, but like, it's just these people that I've seen just motivate me to be better. And, you know, also scare the shit out of me sometimes.
And that's sometimes you need it. Not saying that that's right, but
no, but I mean, it's put you in your place a little bit, right? Yeah. I mean, you can lead by the stick or the carrot, and I've been led by both, and they both been valuable to who I am. So I would say that, you know, take it for what it is. If you're in the industry and you maybe have a leader who you don't understand why they're doing it, there's a reason, right? There's a reason. And if they're successful, like, this is the way they were taught. And so take something from them, learn from it, and grow, you know?
Absolutely.
Well, what else? So, I mean, I just wanted, this is our intro. I know our next time we're going to bring on some fun folks. We have a huge list of people. So if you know us, you'll probably be getting a call to come on our podcast. But the goal is to come on, share who you are, what you're doing, and what made you successful. Maybe come up with a fun tagline or something that works for you. You know, whether it's candidate control, client control. We say control, but it's really just getting the candidate to come along with us, right? And go through the journey, because we know what's best typically, right? When it comes to how these things go. I mean, you don't walk in to buy a car and say, okay, here's how it's going to work, right? I mean, some people do, but you go through the process, right? So I'm excited to have some folks on that are going to really kind of share their success stories and their war stories and some funny stories. Yeah,
absolutely. Excited for that.
Yeah, let's connect.
Excited to see some old faces and new friends.
Totally, absolutely. Well, Myrna, anything else before we wrap up?
No, I just am excited about this. I'm excited we finally are putting this together. It's been a couple months coming, but you know, we've been really meticulous about how we want this podcast to come about and why, and, you know, build a community around what we want to share. And if it's for you, follow us. And if it's not, you know,
tell us why.
Tell us why.
Tell us why. What do you want?
Yeah.
And honestly, too, like, if there's something you want to hear, like if you're a recruiter and you're struggling with something, or there's something you need help with and you're just not getting the support, ask us, because we can find somebody. We're a wealth of knowledge. Myrna's been a trainer. She's trained managers, directors, people that are running their own businesses right now. I mean, it's so hopefully hopefully we want to be that lifeline, right? So absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. Pretty soon we'll have a catchy tagline, I'm sure, right? But
yeah, we'll find one. We're gonna have matchy shirts too.
Oh yeah. We're gonna get
logoed shirts.
Okay, another funny story. Myrna loves a uniform, and she hates figuring out what she has to wear every day. She doesn't like it. And when we worked at Vincent Benjamin, we had these black polos that said VB that, you know, you got for every once in a while. Nope. Blue jeans and the black polo, Myrna wore it every single day. That was her uniform.
So easy. You don't have to worry about it.
So true.
So I've asked for a uniform for these podcasts too.
Exactly.
Getting the outfits, it's just easier if we just uniform it.
Oh, we had a whole comment about your boobs earlier, so.
And that's a big reason why.
Well, Myrna, I love you. I'm so excited to do this with you, and let's see what happens.
Yes. Excited for our next podcast, and
hopefully in a week.
Sharing. Yeah.
Wednesdays.
Wednesdays.
Consistency is key. All right. Talk to you later.
Yes.
Bye, Myrna.
Bye.